Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and it is Sunday. And that means it's time for Soul Sunday. For those of you who are not regular viewers, Soul Sunday is a time when we just slow down a bit and prepare ourselves for the coming week. DearMamaSal is all about helping you cope with love, life, and other problems. And I say it that way because we are a group of people who get together 3 times a week to support one another in coping with our lives. Now, that not only helps everybody, but it also teaches people the ways to cope and how to do things. So especially important at this particular time in our lives with the coronavirus going on and all the other things that are happening. I think right now I'd like to give just a moment to poor our viewer Bernice, otherwise known as Sakura, whose father is in the Philippines and who has stage 4 cancer, but also has now been diagnosed with coronavirus. And so you imagine what it's like for Bernice. She can't get back to see her father. And that, we thoughts and prayers need to go to her because that's a really difficult time. Or how about Jody and Lionel, where Lionel put his back out. And for those of you who don't know, Jody really does rely on Lionel for a lot of her day-to-day care. And so Lionel having sciatica problems, affects both of them to a large degree. I did hear from Jody, though, that she'd managed to get some back brace support for him, and that seems to be helping. Jody, let us know if there's any update on that one. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, you're going to hear me talk about Jody a lot. She's my admin, and she makes us look good. Yeah, really. She does a great thing. I believe, for those of you who don't know, I haven't heard from Erin that she actually had the x-ray that she needs on her foot. I might have missed it, but if anybody knows about that, Erin is bedridden, and she actually was moved into her chair. And for some reason, they didn't see that her foot was trapped. And so we're trying to find we're trying to find out what's happening. But she was also due to have a liver scan done this month. So let's keep our thoughts and prayers for Erin. It's a difficult time. And for those of you who know Amel in Tunisia, she's waiting for her exam results this week. So busy week for a lot of people. And that's why I thought what we would do today is talk about something that hopefully will make you all feel better. And on Soul Sunday, what I like to do, as you know, is to sort of just take a moment to almost, how can I say this? To unwind, yes, but also to just take it easy, all right? Just take it easy. Hi, Eve, good to see you. And hi, Daniel, good to see you as well. Oh, and otherwise known as Isabel, of course, yes. So I'll have to keep reminding myself of that. So when I say take it easy, one of the things that is really important for us to do is to be able to switch. Whatever it is that is upsetting us, to be able to take the actions we need to take in order to change those thoughts. Now, we all have different ways of doing it. And I've, for example, find a new way now. For example, I know you all know that I have a little bit of problem with my feet swelling up. Well, I now make it part of my day that I actually go back to my bed and I lie the wrong way around. And I do something that Beth taught me to do, which was to put my feet up on the wall at the head of my bed. And I lie there for an hour every day, and I just play some sort of, game on my cell phone. And literally just take an hour during the day to get the pressure off my feet. And if you have never done it, I want to tell you, it's a really great feeling. And yeah, Eve's saying, I love doing that. Yeah, so take an hour for yourself. So what I thought we'd do today is take that time for ourselves. And if any of you want to literally lie down and just listen to this, that's absolutely fine with us. And if you're listening to this on the replay, please don't necessarily listen to it while you're driving, because we're going to slow it right down now. And if I slow it right down, it will probably slow you down as well, which is why we put the Soul Sunday broadcast together in one playlist. So if ever you're having problems sleeping, you can put them together. Summertime. It was a song. It was a season. And I wondered if that season would ever live inside of me. How many of you have awesome memories of summer? And let me ask you, when you hear the word summer, and when you hear the word summer, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? It doesn't have to be anything other than whatever it is for you. So when you think of summer, what do you think of? And while people are answering that, I'd just like to say that this is a beautiful quote from Charles Barden, and he said, "Summertime is always the best of what might be." It's interesting. Eve is saying when she thinks of summer, she thinks of sunflowers. Yeah. And I'm certain that some of you think of beaches and maybe even the ocean. I'm certain that some of you see deck chairs. and some of you, you know, may even see a beach ball. Yeah, of course. Isabel's saying, "I see the sea." And for those of you who don't know, Isabel did a wonderful thing last year. She knew that Jody couldn't get to the sea and that Jody loves the sea. So what Isabel did is she went to New Jersey, and while she was there, she walked the Broadwalk and took video of it for Jody. I thought that was one of the greatest gifts of love I could think of. You know, it was so kind. All right, so hi Sam, Samantha, good to see you. And she's saying, "Hello, MamaSal, Jody, and my actual mother, that's Eve, and everyone else." I have 3 little ones this evening, so I might not be as quick to reply in the chat. You know something, the fact you're even here is amazing. Jody's saying when she thinks of summer, she thinks of iced tea, the ocean, Adirondack chairs in the sand, yes. I see campfires and roasting marshmallows to make some s'mores at twilight when the fireflies come out. And so isn't that just a wonderful picture? And how many of you just feel more relaxed for seeing that picture in your mind? How many of you could see the iced tea, you know, with the ice cubes clinking in it? Now, some of you might have seen a beer with a piece of lemon in it. But, you know, it doesn't matter what you see. It's, can you take that moment to see it? Can you take that moment to see the ocean in your mind? And is it a quiet one or is it a raging one? It doesn't matter. It's just, can you take that moment and see it? Hi, Jeannie, good to see you as well. Welcome. We're doing summer today. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Jody's saying a nice shandy would do nicely. Now, for those of you who don't know the joys of shandy, shandy is a mix of beer and 7-Up, or sometimes even beer and ginger ale. But it's the most refreshing drink. It is my drink of choice in summer. I must admit, if I'm going to have a beer in the summer, I will have it with lemonade and a piece of lemon in it. Just wonderful. All right, and Niasha is saying all All is good. That's great to hear, Nyasha. I am pleased, and I hope you had fun with your goddaughter on her birthday. One of the benefits of summer was that each day we had more light to read by. How many of you have taken this summer to read? Are any of you reading anything at the moment? It doesn't matter how you're reading it, whether it's on Kindle or whether it's on hard copy or whatever it is. Are any of you taking the time to stop and take some time to read? I have a new routine, which is when I have my lunch, I read. Whatever time I have my lunch, doesn't matter. I just stop for a moment and I put on my Kindle and I just read while I have my lunch. Jean is saying summer, very hot outside, but with air conditioning inside, very pleasant. Yes, I don't have air conditioning, but hey, I managed 17 years in Africa without air conditioning. I can handle the BC weather. All right, so Jean is saying we read every day, usually mysteries. Yes, doesn't matter what it is. It is, I've always said that reading is a bit like radio. And I heard radio described once as theater of the mind. You see, when you read, you automatically create pictures in your mind. And how many of you can see that doing that actually exercises your mind? Right? It exercises your mind. So not only are you coordinating your eyes to be able to read properly, but also just by reading, you're creating those images in your mind. And that, I believe, is exercising your mind. It is the same reason I do some games every day. Normally they're block games, where you have to fit certain blocks into certain places, because I want to keep exercising my mind. All right, now take a moment, all of you. Are you ready? Smell the sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and spirit fly. So how many of you can smell the sea? And, I don't know about you guys, but it's like I can really, when it's raining, I take a moment to go outside and smell the rain. I love the smell of rain for some reason. I don't have to be walking in it necessarily, but I love the smell of it. There's something about the smell of rain that is very renewing to my spirit. Does anybody else feel like that? And when it says feel the sky, you understand that this is probably the clearest sky you're going to see in your lifetime. Why? Because there is so much less pollution in the world. And therefore, I would imagine that the ozone is healing itself at a great rate. But also, you will see that there is far less smog, there's far less everything at the moment. And therefore, enjoy it while you can. So smell the sea and feel the sky and let your soul and spirit fly. Yeah, Jody's saying, yes, I love the rain. The ions that are released during the atmosphere are cleaning the air. Yes, I totally can feel that. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, live in the sunshine, swim in the sea, drink in the wild air. And some of you are saying, yes, Sal, but I can't get to the sea. Well, yes, you can. You see, we have so much great technology. When I was in my 20s, we couldn't go to the sea unless we went there. And today we can go to the sea. And I'm pretty certain by the time the next generation gets to my age, we'll be able to smell the sea as well. I have a feeling that we are going to have the ability to be able to, not only see these visions, but be able to smell them. I believe that's a bit of technology that's coming next. Jeannie's saying it's wonderful to live near the ocean. You can smell the sea. You can feel the sky when you live in the country. Buildings are not so close together. The sun kisses us. Isn't that so true? Yeah, and Jody is saying, Isabel brought me to the sea with that video. Remember the one where she was walking in New Jersey down the boardwalk and she videotaped it for Jody? Such a blessing. Yes, and I am sure that you will never forget it because I can't ever forget it. And it wasn't for me. And I just think, wow, it was just such an amazing thing. Mordhart Lovely said, it was June and the world smelled of roses. The sunshine was like powdered gold over the grassy hillsides. And it's amazing, but some of you might also have noticed this. The roses are slower to come out this year in my neck of the woods. My springtime rose, as I call it, it flowers early, did well and flowered. And now I'm waiting for that rose. You remember that my sister gave me an incredible rose. It's called the Lady Gardner rose. And if you haven't ever seen it, you might want to look that up. And it's got a bud on it that's actually starting to open now. I'm not sure how long it'll take until it's fully open, but I cannot tell you how exciting that is for me. Jeannie's saying that the other day York and I saw a doe eating grass by the roadside. God's gift. Yeah, and Jody's saying, yes, Jeannie, it's a gift indeed, seeing a fawn. It's beautiful, right? I want to tell you, I can remember driving up to northern BC some time ago, in the days when we could still drive. And it was amazing because in one trip, I saw 2 bear on the side of the road. And that was incredible. Nyasha's saying, remember that Nyasha's living in Trinidad and Tobago. So she has a very different perspective on a lot of things. And it's wonderful to have her as part of it. Definitely technology is everything. Imagine I can see New York without even leaving the comfort of my home through an app called Periscope. Yep. I love to see new places. You see, and I think that is the thing that we need to be so grateful for. Can you imagine trying to do this pandemic without today's technology? Imagine if we didn't have email. Imagine if we didn't have Messenger. Imagine if we didn't have all these wonderful apps, the Zoom, some people still using Skype, or whatever it is. It's just so amazing that our communication can be so instant. Jenny Han said, everything good, everything magical happens between the months of June and August. I wonder if any of you agree with it. There's just something about that time. Now, if you happen to be Lauren or anybody else living in the Southern Hemisphere, let's think the summer months for wherever you live. I understand that these months are the middle of winter in the Southern Hemisphere. And believe you me, I've been there. But I also want to tell you that some of my greatest memories, and I will say this, is literally being on my pool chair in my swimming pool, eating Christmas pudding in Africa, on Christmas Day. And it was just like there seemed to be something incredibly decadent about being able to sit in a pool chair and eat Christmas pudding. How many of you can see that picture of me doing that? And by the way, there is a story around that. I had a cross boxer Great Dane. I called him Cassius because he was meant to be a bit of a boxer, but quite honestly, he was mostly Great Dane. And I taught my dog to rescue me from the center of the pool. There was method in my madness. If I was in the center of the pool and I needed to get more, water or whatever it was I needed, I could call my dog. Actually, I didn't even have to call him. I just had to splash like this. And he was trained that if I started to do that, he jumped in the pool, and he came and took my hand, and then he swam me to the edge of the pool. How many of you are going, only Sal? Can any of you see that picture in your mind? And it worked so well for so long. Until one day, the neighbor's children were playing Marco Polo in the pool next door. And guess what? They were splashing really loudly and screaming. And Cassius recognized those signals, and he took off. And he jumped a 6-foot fence and went diving into their pool, at which point their daddy saw this huge dog, and he was huge, jumping into the pool after the children, and went and got his gun. And I'm pleased to tell you, before you all have a little connection here, he luckily saw what the dog was doing before he actually pulled the trigger. And what Cassius did was he jumped that fence and he dove into the pool, and then he started to take the children to the side of the pool. And, in that split second, he could have been dead. But, the father came to me and said, how on earth did you teach that dog to do that? And I said, I'm lazy. And Cassius loves to do tricks. So, and he loves the rewards he gets for doing tricks. So, it was quite simple, really. I never dreamt he'd go over a 6-foot fence. It nearly was the death of him. But that the guy next door said to me, somehow I feel that much safer with my children in the pool, knowing that he would do that. I will now make sure my children know, if ever they are in trouble, to splash and shout for Cassius, because we know he can jump that fence. I said that would be a really good idea. And that's what they did. Yeah. It was said that friends, sun, sand, and sea, that sounds like a summer to me. And when I say that, friends, when you think about summer friends, maybe you have certain friends that are what I call your summer friends, certain friends that you remember going to the beach with, and maybe from years ago. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to reconnect with some of them and say, hey, I was just listening to something this week, and we were talking about summer, and I thought of you. I don't know anybody that wouldn't love to hear that. If only it could be like this, always. Always summer, always alone, the fruit always ripe. And when you think of summer fruit, what do you think of? If I were to open my fridge right now, it would be dangerous. It is stacked with raspberries and strawberries and blueberries. And Jody's saying, watermelon comes to mind. Yes, watermelon. Favorite memory of watermelon, Jody, was in North Africa. I was in Tripoli and went to the ruins of Georgian Poverty. And, these ancient ruins are still standing. It's just amazing. And literally that my brother-in-law carried a massive watermelon all the way through the scorching heat of North Africa in summer. And just so that when we got to the actual ruins, we could sit in the shade and break open a watermelon. And it worked so beautifully. Jeannie's saying, we like picnicking in a certain park. Hardly anyone else goes there, even though it's public. Right, so we've got watermelon. Anybody else have a favorite summer fruit? I'm thinking pineapple. Memories. As some of you know, I used to take a couple of the neighbors' children and my stepchildren. We all used to go camping about 4 hours away from any civilization on the east coast of Africa. And that's on the Indian Ocean, obviously. And I'm setting that up because, there was no running water. You had to take your water with you. And not only that, you had to take your fruit with you and eat it carefully. And so I've learned in my life, as I do every week in my fridge, to eat my fruit in the order in which it deteriorates the fastest. So I'll always eat the raspberries before I eat the strawberries. And the last one is always the apples. By the end of the week, I'm eating apples. But what I remember about pineapple was that, is anybody allergic to pineapple? Because I can just remember that I was on one trip and where we used to go was a beach called My Baby. And and I was busy eating pineapple like I was never going to eat fruit again. And then next thing I knew, my whole mouth was swollen. I always remember that. So the fruit is always ripe in summer. So let us take this moment to enjoy the fruit. And I encourage you all, change your budget a little bit. Enjoy your fruit. Find fun ways to enjoy your fruit. I'm now making little chia puddings with raspberries on top. And then, a little bit of cream. And now that I got the big freezer, the next thing that's coming in is some ice cream. I really don't mind. I have to find a way to be able to include ice cream into my diet so that I can enjoy it this summer. Jeannie's saying cantaloupe with vanilla ice cream. Yes, see, this is the whole thing. Jody's saying fantastic memory. I can see it. I can almost taste the ice cold. Yeah, it's really incredible, isn't it? If we just take a moment, we can do it. Kez, always a pleasure to see you, honey. And for those of you who don't know, Kez is just an amazing human being. I first met her when she came to help me on December many years ago. Must have been 5-6 years ago, Kez. I will never forget her for that. She stood by me from wherever she was. I don't know where she was at the time, but she stood by me for literally almost 24 hours nonstop. So that name is unusual. So, but every year when I do December, I wait to see her name pop up. It's one of the joys I have when I do December is to see the recurring team that come to support me. Not only support December, but they actually support me to help keep me awake for those 24 hours. And how many of you are going to actually do this year? When all else fails, take a vacation. Don't think that because we are in the situation we are, that you cannot take a vacation. I think some of you have heard me say that my friend Marnie is going out every weekend with her camper and going camping because campsites are socially distant. And she is thoroughly enjoying this summer. I think it's wonderful. And so if they say to you, what did you do in the summer of the pandemic? And I think that's how we will talk about it. What are you going to tell them? And this next quote is so important for us all. The tans will fade, but the memories will last forever. When you hear those words, what does it bring up in your mind? It's strange. When I hear that the tans will fade, but the memories will last forever, I'm looking at an incredible white beach. And I am in Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. And I am at the Club Med. That's what I can see. And I can remember there learning that the best tan you can get is actually not in the full sun. The best tan you can get is under the dapple of the trees. And that tan, for some reason, lasts a lot longer than one that you literally burn your skin. I've got more on that memory. So Jean is saying, the beaches are wonderful in Maine, but one must be careful nowadays not to get too close to one another. Yeah. Niash is saying, we don't have summer here in Trinidad and Tobago, but during the month of August, which is our summer, what is on my mind isn't a fruit, but rather a pina colada. And they mix theirs with watermelon and soda. Isn't that beautiful? Jeannie's saying people trashed one spot near her hometown. Officials had to close it up. Isn't that sad? And Sandy, bless you, Sandy, you always cheer up our broadcast. Sandy's saying time moves too fast. Enjoy every moment. Sandy, I am pleased to report to you that somehow or another I managed to fill my face with 4 popsicles yesterday and was waiting for my blood sugar to be way over the top this morning in a big way, because I also had some trail mix. And I'm pleased to report it was high. It was, okay, Jody will have to do the convert for me because I think she has a cheat sheet on this. But Sandy doesn't need it. Sandy's in Canada. Sandy, it was 7 in this morning. And I'm going, oh, that's good to know. And if I can't enjoy some popsicles in the summer, then really. So yes, let's all do this. Time moves too fast. Enjoy every moment. None of us know if we're going to be alive by Christmas. Let's be honest. It doesn't matter whether it's the pandemic. We just don't know, right? We never have. So sometimes you have to have a day where you just do the things that you want to do. As much as we try to eat better and sleep better, I am really delighted. I found out that having 4 popsicles allowed me to sleep for 8.5 hours. That's a good reason for me to eat popsicles. I'm not quite sure why those 2 actually, coordinated, but I'm so glad they did. And Jody's saying you were so active yesterday too. You burned a lot of calories. Yes, I think I did. And that is, that's everything in moderation, right? There wasn't anything moderation about 4 popsicles. And by the way, they were chocolate covered ice cream type things. Oh, they were so good. So the tan will fade, but the memories will last forever. So let me ask you, when you hear that, what is your memory about getting a tan? Katie Lee said, if summer had one defining scent, it would definitely be the smell of barbecue. Now, I don't know about you, but I hadn't thought about that. Okay, let's take a moment. Barbecues. Jeannie's saying that for those of you who might not know, Jeannie and York had a most terrible tragedy in their lives. Their house burned down. And they are living in an apartment and waiting for their house to be rebuilt. So she was saying that yesterday we took a day off. Per Sal. We read. I slept. I cooked chicken legs with vegetables. Yes, Jeannie, you lived. Yeah, and Jeannie's saying my skin is light. I've been sunburned too often. We'll get onto that subject in a minute. Sandy's saying, oh, I have popsicles every time the kids do. It's only 10 grams of carbs. You know something, Sandy? I am busy ordering up some popsicle makers because I am pretty certain, and I'm sure you will tell me this, that a blend of fruit and almond milk makes a wonderful popsicle, is my guess. And then I will just throw in a little bit of that incredible vanilla powder that Jody got me hooked on. And I actually also have, wait 1 second. I ordered up vanilla sticks because we said that we would try and make try to make vanilla essence, which means you're going to watch me try to do it in one of the broadcasts. But so I've ordered up some vanilla sticks. Now I'm going to get the containers that I want to make it in. That's going to be on my next order. So step by step, right? I've got the vanilla sticks ready. Jody's saying, I've done it. It's delicious. Well, the reason I'm thinking about it is I've noticed I've got... Why have I got it covered open here? I've noticed that I have got, some interesting alcohol blends that I'm thinking I should really, use those and make vanilla essence. Wow, that's interesting. Jeannie's saying a friend of mine put lip balm on and got sunburned lips. Ouch. I don't want to deal with the negatives today. Let's stay on the positives, but thanks for the info. So how many of you can smell the smell of barbecue? All right, so Niesha's saying that vanilla essence tutorial would come in handy for Christmas, for cakes and stuff. Yeah, that's why I wanted to do it. Kez is saying, I remember when, as a child, my mom would, when we went to the beach or the local pool, put on coconut-scented tanning oil. Oh, I can see it. I can totally not only smell it, but see it. In the dark brown bottle, right? Oh, I remember that so well. I remember the oil. Oh, that's interesting, Jody. I wonder if you could take a little note for me on that one. Sandy's saying, yum, Sal. Look up Zoku. It's a popsicle maker that makes them in 10 minutes. Yeah, and Jody's saying, Kez, yes, I can smell it. I used Hawaiian Tropic. Yeah, I can see that bottle. And how many of you can see the bottle? Is it the same one with the little child running and the dog holding onto the bottoms of her swimsuit? All right, and Jeannie's saying, I love barbecue. Corn, meat, eggplant, yummy. I want to tell you the best thing I ever did for my barbecue. Excuse me while I stretch. The best thing I ever did for my barbecue was to buy the mats. Coppertone. Thank you, Jody. I knew somebody would have a brain that would remember. That's the one. I started this about 4 years ago, that I bought one of these mats for my barbecue. I no longer have to scrape my barbecue each time. I cook on this mat and I can do spiraled vegetables on my barbecue. It's like I can do breakfast on my barbecue. Yeah, I can do pancakes on my barbecue. I can even do crepes on my barbecue. So to me, this little couple of bucks that I spent on a barbecue mat was the most incredible thing ever. And by the way, doesn't it burn? No. And you know what's even better, Samantha? When you cook your vegetables on it, it still has the grill marks. How many of you going? Jody, remind me to put up a link on that one. I want to tell you something. It is amazing, Samantha. I never, I don't bother to clean my barbecue anymore. I just clean the mat. And Jody's saying, isn't that interesting? Oddly enough, I was researching silicone popsicle makers yesterday. Well, you and I both, Jody, but now we will be looking at the one that Sandy recommends to see whether that's the route to go. So the smell of barbecue, what memories do you have of barbecues? I have to go back to South Africa for barbecues. They did barbecues so well, so often. It was the only way to entertain, quite honestly, half the time, just because the weather was so gorgeous and, it was just amazing. And, when I think about it, some of the best barbecues were over a campfire, to some of us, right? For some of us, I can remember, I remember, I remember going camping with a boyfriend, and he said, well, let's light a fire. And I said, fine. And without thinking, I went out into the bush where we were. This was actually on the east coast of America. And I went into the woods close where we were. And I came back with a tree. I mean, a tree limb, a big one. And he said, what are you doing? I said, barbecue. And he said, what? I said, I'm lazy. We're going to be here for a few days. I don't want to be doing this every day. So, let's start with this one. And he said, you can't burn that. And I said, I'll show you how you do it. The trick is you put it, you put the middle of the tree branch, over the pit, and then you light it. And then you just keep feeding it in. And, sometimes living in Africa was, quite useful with teaching me things. And the whole reality was like, who would have thought to bring a tree branch, And I'm not talking thin tree branch. I'm talking about one this size, yeah. And guess what? We were there for nearly a week, and it lasted. We left the ends of it for the next person. So the smell of barbecue. What is your favorite food on a barbecue? I was just, funny enough, texting with Yvonne today. And I know for them, their favorite in the summer was always when I did my stuffed burgers. Jean is saying, when we have our cousins get together, I loved cooking corn on the cob for the boys. One had braces, but somehow managed to eat the corn well. It's amazing what you can do when you want to. Isn't that interesting? Sandy's saying, Sal, have I mentioned to you that my sister lives in South Africa? No, so does my brother. There we go. And Samantha's saying, I can't wait to pick one up and try those barbecue mats at least 5 times a week in the summer. Cooking on the barbecue is not only delicious, but it doesn't heat up the house. Oh, and thank you for the tips, guys. Samantha and Eve, if you don't know this already, that's what we do every week, right? We feed the soul, and we have tips. All right, so my favorite smell is chicken on the barbecue. Wow, that's a memory for me. Funny enough, early on in the days when I knew Benji, very early on, when he was in his early 20s, I would think, he came up to participate in a barbecue that a whole group of us were having. And I remember he made these incredible chicken wings, chicken thighs. And they were so tasty. They were so tasty that we all kept going back for seconds and thirds until they were finished. And, I said to him, what did you put in there? And it was so simple. He just literally marinated the chicken thighs in soy sauce and lime. And I want to tell you that over a hot barbecue, that crisps up, you will never regret it. So tasty. All right, so Jody says chicken with Italian dressing on the barbecue is my favorite smell in the summer. There you go. Amazing how many people like chicken on the barbecue. Isabel is now back to being Isabel. Okay, that's interesting. Steak and salmon on cedar. She's back on her computer. All right, steak and salmon on her is on cedar. Yeah, that sounds so good, doesn't it? And how about Samantha saying, for me, it's shrimp or good old zucchini. Yeah, I did shredded zucchini. Okay, this Canadian thing, but shredded zucchini. I tossed it in a little oil. I think I did sesame oil because, Jody taught me that one. And then I drizzled it with a little maple syrup and then put it on the barbecue mat. It was shredded zucchini, carrot, and what would be the other one? Hang on a second. What would be the third one that I added to it? By the way, if you haven't got one of these things, okay, it's going to take me too long to dig out my carrots, but literally you can run this down your carrots and just make these incredible it makes me hungry. But I use this thing. Let me just hold it slowly. So it makes instant spiralized strips of zucchini. Yeah. All right, so, and Kez is saying, how about corn on the cob and jacket potatoes with butter? Huh. Yeah, so Jody's just reminding us that adding sesame oil is a great way to elevate a marinade in terms of depth of flavor. And so is just a drizzle of maple syrup. And then how many of you also know that, using Dijon mustard turns it from just anything into wow. One of the things, and I used to do my stuffed burgers for Yvonne and Wade when I was at the other house. I would give them choices. I'd say, I'm going to do stuffed burgers. Name your favorite. And I literally would hand create, brie cheese with onion and something and bacon, inside a burger. And the other one would have cheese and mushrooms and whatever, and I literally would just let them choose what they'd like inside their burger. And it was always so tasty and everybody was happy. Yes, how about kebabs? Vegetable skewers with grilled pineapple. How many of you love kebabs? And Jody's saying we're having a virtual picnic. You see, how many of you feel refreshed? How many of you feel relaxed just talking barbecue? All right, Jody's saying those stuffed burger photos nearly did me in. Caramelized onion with brie. That's right. Thank you very much, Jody. I'd forgotten what I put with the brie. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Yvonne and Wade over because I haven't fired up my barbecue. It's a bit difficult for me to get at it at the moment because if you don't know, I tore away. Some of you know that I've got raised flower beds. And one of my raised beds popped when we had the minus. Yvonne tells me it wasn't minus 12. Wait a minute, minus 12. Oh, minus 12 would have been 10 degrees Fahrenheit. She said we went down to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. That's minus 16, which is very unusual for my neck of the woods. But it popped one of my flower beds, and I wanted to get it fixed before it got any worse and caused a major problem. And my neighbor has very kindly done that for me. And so I've got, where's my phone? Right here. I've been, it's rebuilt now. I've got the job of repainting it, restaining it. And I do have a picture to show you that I've started it. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got one part of it stained now. So, and if you, this part here is the wood that we took away. This is the unstained part, but look at the state of the wood that we took off. It was all just destroyed. So, anyway, so the good news is it's on its mend. Niasha is saying, oh no, first of all, Jeannie's saying, I love kebabs with pineapple and sweet pepper. Yeah. And Niasha's saying, Benji was the reason I began purchasing soy sauce to add to my fried rice. I never had it before until I saw him use it. And the way his meals looked when it was added encouraged me to buy it. I want to tell you, without a doubt, Benji's gift is to not mess his food, right? And what he does, and he does it so well, and I'm trying to learn that trick, is not to mix all the food together. You know, he will cook everything separately and then put it together at the last minute. You know, me, I sort of throw the rice in here and then I throw the, and it's like, no, he does it all separately, keeps it warm, but then only puts it all together when he goes to plate. Isn't it interesting? Yasha says, and well, my family couldn't have been happier after eating it. How about that? Well done, Yasha. And how many of you have also been inspired by some of Benji's cooking? Or rather, if you've ever seen him cook, who couldn't be inspired, right? And Samantha's saying, yes, hi Sandy, yes, the only casualty was when one of my lavender plants I accidentally left outside. But wow, the thunder was quite fierce. You're talking about the storms that came up that way. I hope you and yours are safe as well. So Samantha, just remind me, where are you that you had the storms as well? Are you close to Isabel? And so now the next quote says, it's summer and time for wandering. And you know, we're all going to have different excuses why we haven't been wandering this summer. But you know, perhaps this is the best summer to go wandering. Perhaps that is the healthiest thing we can do. And you know, if you have the ability to get in a car and go drive somewhere and literally just go walk on your, away from the maddened crowds. Don't worry about who isn't social distancing. Take yourself far enough away from the crowds and the people to find a little bit of nature somewhere and just walk for a while. Wow, that's interesting. The Sandy's saying we had a pretty crazy line of storms that spanned most of Ontario. Well, I'm glad you're all safe. So when you think of wandering in summer, what is your favorite memory? And Isabel is saying, we were close when I lived in Montreal, Samantha. You see, isn't that nice? It's a small world, isn't it? My favorite memory of wandering in summer was on a horse. I've got to tell you, I used to do most of my wandering on a horse. And Some of you will remember this story, but the one that really touched my heart was I had a Welsh Border Collie, a black and white one. And, you know, somebody had moved and left him to fend for himself. I can't believe that anybody would do that. But luckily, a neighbor got him, and they knew me, and they knew my love of border collies. And she just put him in the car and brought him to me and said, "Hi, he needs a home." And so I took him in. And one of the things that I did was, obviously, as I went riding every day, I taught him to stay at the property edge and stay there, and I will be back after I finished riding. I lived in a beautiful rural area and in Africa. And one day, I am busy wandering the countryside on my horse. And it was on my left, obviously, out of my peripheral vision, I see a black and white movement. And I thought, what was that? But it wasn't close. It was like maybe a property away, like maybe an acre away. There was this movement of black and white. And I thought, no. So I carried on riding, enjoying. And I looked again, and guess what? Black and white movement. And so I pretended I didn't know. And I continued to ride, and I continued to watch. And bless his heart, his name was Boots. Bless his heart, Boots had learned how to come riding with me, but without getting into trouble. And so for as long as I knew him, I pretended I didn't know. And I just had such joy watching how he did it. And what he would do is when I was heading home, when I was within about 500 yards of my home, he would shortcut around and in and out, and then he'd be lying exactly where I told him to lie down when I came home. Smart dog. Jody's saying, the boardwalk in Maine is my favorite memory. The lights, the sounds of the crowds, the smell of different foods, and hearing the ocean waves crash in the background. We explored the boardwalk and the beach. Yeah. And Isabel's saying we have the same favorite memory. Isn't that wonderful? And how many of you need to hear this today? Rise above the storm, and you will find the sunshine. That was written by Mario Fernandez. And so many of you are going through a storm at the moment, or whatever's going on in your life. And you just need to hold on through the storm. And hopefully you will see the sunshine very soon after. None of us is guaranteed that the storm will be easy. And by the way, Jody, if you can, please remind me. I want to do another reminder of what we need to have stocked up for when we hit the next Great Depression, which I believe will be coming. And that's not a negative. I just want to make sure that you are all prepared, not scared, and that you have, at least the basics stored up. I'm beginning to, I bought 2 big bags of flour, and I'm about halfway down, maybe a bit more, of my first bag. So I now know roughly how long a big bag of flour, well, big to me, I think it's 5 pounds bag. I'm not good at doing that conversion. It's not your regular bag, it's a bigger one. So now I know if I want to have flour on hand for a year, how many bags I need to buy. That's what I've been testing. I've definitely got enough brown rice to last me well over a year, I think. Summer afternoon, To those have always been the two most beautiful words in the English language. Henry James said that. How many of you just know by just hearing those words, summer afternoon can relax us? And you know, Susan Branch said, never in 100 summers could I get tired of this. I lived 17 years in Africa. Oh, it's 25 pounds. Let me find out how many kg it is. Hold on. Two, 20. Yeah, you're right. That's what it is. 25 pounds. You know, there's that part of me that has to know right now if that is correct. And Jody saying Susan Branch is one of my favorite authors and artists. I've been collecting her work for 25 years. Isn't that wonderful? And so, with the sunshine and the great bursts of leaves growing on the trees, just as things grow in fast movies, I had that familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer. That's from The Great Gatsby. That's Scott Fitzgerald, of course. How do I keep it fresh? I don't. I have it. I have it in a cupboard with a big bowl of cloves in it. I never really thought about that. I don't think in the real world that would worry me. I didn't know that flour could be stale, quite honestly. So teach me. We might think we are nurturing our garden, but it's our gardening that is really nurturing us. You know, I would have to tell you that I have had such fun playing with my failures of gardening this year, but I've learned a lot. And, you know, I was looking today that, you know, I now buy, you know, some of my lettuce, but I add my freshly grown lettuce. You know, I get spring mix all the time because I'm, you know, growing it from the leftovers, as you know. Wait a minute. So it really is amazing to me. Now, there's not much left because I just made enough lettuce for the next couple of days. But, you know, I will buy a big lettuce and I will just put it in water like this, and it will keep growing. And then when I've used up most of the lettuce, I think most of you know, I then put it into a little, what's left, I put into a container and I keep growing it. And then what I do is when I make lettuce, and when I make a salad, I take some big leaves, but always I will add in some brand new leaves. And these are different sorts of lettuce. These two are butter lettuce, and this is more like a romaine lettuce. And this obviously is a dark uh, veined lettuce. And what I do with these is I just don't take the red, I take the green because I'm pretty sure that that green is good for me. Okay. And so that's part of my daily intake. I must have green. All right, so Sandy is saying, I've always thought it needed to be kept in a sealed container. I don't let my hubby buy a huge bag because I don't know how to store it. All right, so here is the thing. I believe that the reason it needs to be in a sealed container has more to do with rodents than it has to do with keeping it fresh. That would be my personal feeling. And Jeannie's saying, we had to go to our Durham house yesterday, so I stopped at a neighbor's farm to purchase fresh eggs and a cucumber. I love good eggs. I want to tell you, eggs have a great memory for me. I have for the longest time. I'm pretty sure you must have them in the States as well. I buy the Born omega-3 eggs. And, you know, they have this incredible yolk to them that is almost orange. And I can always remember Big Brother Jeff when he came to visit. And I was making him fried eggs, and I literally broke the egg into the pan, and he went, "What's that? What sort of egg is that?" And I said, "It's a clucker." And he said, "No, seriously, what sort of egg is that?" And I said, "It's a chicken egg." He said, "No, it's not. No chicken egg is that color." And then I explained to him it was an omega-3 egg, and he said, "Wow." And he took pictures to send back home to show people the color of our eggs. And so it was just like, it's amazing, isn't it? I don't even think about it. I've eaten omega-3 eggs for as long as I can remember. So yeah, everybody has their favorite eggs. So that's what I'm saying to you is really, all this young growth is coming from the leftover of one of these. And as you know, I've been doing that now for the whole 6 months that I've been here. All right, so Jody says, I keep it in the freezer, a 5-pound bag. I've got room for that now, Jody. Oh, right, but I've got room in my big freezer to put the whole 25-pound bag. And you're saying you keep the 25-pound bag in a sealed bucket, like an ice cream bucket. And that is to keep it fresh, or is that to keep it away from the bugs? I'm pretty sure that when the pioneers took flour with them across the plains, they weren't worried about keeping it fresh. They were probably worried about bugs, but I could be wrong. Brian Wilson said, summer means happy times and good sunshine. It means going to the beach, enjoying the scenery, and having fun with family and friends. So now then, take this moment and tell me, what is your favorite summer song? If you can remember it. All right, so Jody says, I do it. I put it in the freezer, no critters, and it keeps it fresh. Yes, now that I've got the big freezer, thank you for talking about this, Sandy, because now I realize it's a great storage way for both my brown rice and my flour. I've got plenty of room, believe you me. Plus a few bodies as well. Yeah. So good to know. And we'll be talking more about this in the coming weeks. I'm going to do this every season that we're in this pandemic. We're going to be talking about this. All right. So Jody says, without a doubt, Kokomo from the Beach Boys. Under the Boardwalk from Isabel. Yeah. Any others? I'm thinking Margaritaville. Yeah, Kokomo was anything by the Beach Boys, quite honestly. I think Beach Boys epitomize summer, right? Not just with their name, just all of their things. But I'm thinking, Jimmy Buffett and Margaritaville, to me. And there's something about down on the Florida Keys. Jeannie's saying, I keep my flour in canisters with a good seal on my counter. Yes, but we've been buying up bulk flour I literally, I'm trying to keep about 6 months flour in store. I can't keep that on my counter though. Yeah, so great music, right? So you remember what was said about, we took the day off. Jeannie said that we took the day off. So what I want to say to you, how about you work on a vacation day? At least one, where you stop worrying, stop doing everything else, and just have a vacation day. Stop making masks, stop cooking, baking, doing whatever. Just say, before the end of this month, I'm going to take one day off. And it doesn't matter if you don't get out of your jammies. You have my permission. And so to me, what I'd like to find out as well, and because this might make some of you smile more than others, was your first kiss in summertime? And I'm thinking back a long way back. Yep, I know exactly where it was. Yeah. So isn't it funny? And I'm thinking about how old I was. And so, but it definitely was summer. Yeah. What about the rest of you? So to me, I'm hoping that this broadcast today has shown you that we can have summer any time of the year. Anytime you want to relive some summer, feel free to come back to this broadcast. It'll be, in the playlist of Soul Sunday broadcasts. But you just need to go to the DearMamaSal page on YouTube and just type in Soul Sunday, and it will give you all the broadcasts that we have under that title. And, you can relive summer. How many of you feel better for doing this? Lighter for doing this? Maybe a little younger for doing this? Jody is reminding me that Easter is just 8 months and 18 days away. And that would make Valentine's Day just a mere 6 months and 29 days away. And Christmas is coming up first. Christmas is now 158 days away. Oh, Sandy's saying, oh, I will, when the winter blues hit. Yeah, I'm hoping they don't hit, Sandy. We have 4 months and 2 weeks to get our cards into the mail for overseas Christmas cards. And how many of you, by the way, just going back, how many of you enjoyed last week's broadcast where we talked gardens and could see those pictures? And Jody's saying, yes, my first kiss was in the summer. I haven't thought about that in ages. Thank you for the smile. Yes, I smiled too. When I thought, gosh, yeah, I remember that. Clumsy as it was. And so the US Thanksgiving is just 4 months and 1 week away, actually a couple of days to spare. And that would make the Canadian one just about 3 months away because we have ours in October. And so now when you look at it, we are, for those of us living in the Northern Hemisphere, we're heading towards the start of fall. A long way away, but we're heading that way. And so we are just now 29 days into summer. Isn't that amazing? So let's enjoy it, people. What if this were the last summer you ever lived? What would you want to have done with it? And for those of you who've been on this journey with me, I moved into this house exactly 6 months and 9 days ago. And you will remember it was empty, save a futon. The appliances were here, and I literally day by day brought the important stuff in and set it up in my house. And that took me, I had a month that I rented the house for a month prior to owning it. And I systematically set up the kitchen and the laundry room and the bathrooms so that by the time the chaos of all the furniture arrived and all the boxes, I would at least be functioning. I still think it was the most intelligent thing that I did, quite honestly. And you'll be pleased to know that when Yvonne came to visit me, she took back the shower doors that I'd accidentally brought to this house that belonged to my last one. Amel, we are fine. We were talking about you at the front end of the broadcast, Amel. I know that you're going to be having your results this week, right? So we're keeping our fingers crossed for you. And how are things in Tunis or Tunisia? Not sure if you're actually in Tunis. Are you in Tunis? Yeah, Jody's saying I'll never forget that move, the snowstorm. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I moved. I moved just for the night, the first night. I was just bought a couple of things and I was just going to, and I got snowed in. And we never get snowed in. I couldn't get into my car. It was solidly frozen. And, the doors were frozen and they stayed frozen for 3 days. Thank goodness I'm a camper at heart, because I did bring food with me, and I did bring the coffee maker with me, and I did bring, I had a coffee maker at each end because life doesn't exist without coffee for me. And so it was really an amazing memory. But here I am 6 months later. And by the way, it's a very exciting week for me this week because the big 25 cube unit will arrive on Tuesday. And I've spent the week tearing apart my craft room to make room for it. And that'll be here on Tuesday. And then hopefully I will be able to put away an awful lot of stuff that needs to be put away in my craft room. And once that is done, I will then be able to start working on the studio. And I don't know if I mentioned to you, Yvonne came up with a brilliant idea when she came to visit. And that's why I love oohing and ahhing with my friends that know me well. And what she said to me, let me try and explain this. If this is the door into my studio, and the studio is about 10 by 10, I would think, right? And there's a window here, and there is a closet here. So that's a wall, and then there's a closet here, and there's a furnace in here. And what they did is they did a special built-in wardrobe. And part of it is a hanging section which you can pull out to get to the furnace. No, it's the water heater, not the furnace. The water heater is in here. But what Yvonne said to me, listen to this. She said, what if you take out all that they've built in? You could put, I think we worked out, I could put in close to 30 of my banker boxes. If I undid all that is there, I would have room for about 30 banker boxes here and have a curtain that goes right across. Can you understand what she's getting at? Clever. That means I wouldn't have to unpack 30 boxes. I just leave them labeled. And long after I've gone, somebody can throw them away. So I thought that was brilliant. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get hold of the guy that built that stuff in, and it's beautifully built. So I'm going to ask him, if he can let me know how he built it. Did he secure it to the floor, or is it movable? Even the bit that is built in. So, but it is a very clever idea. And if so, I would have the studio, I'd have to make a lot of mess before I got it tidy, but the studio would basically be able to be a spare room because I could keep so much in it and close the curtain. And I would leave in the hanging section because I could do that and still have drawers, a bedside table with drawers and stuff for guests. So that would work. I've got a unit that would have bedside drawers so that they could put stuff in there if they wanted to. But seriously, people don't stay very long, right? They stay for a couple of nights. The longest stay would be my brother. But if he came again, he would probably come with his girlfriend, in which case they would probably stay at a local hotel. So interesting stuff. I'm hoping that you've enjoyed your summer vacation with me. Can I get your feedback? Was it worth doing? Is it something you enjoyed? And if so, what did you enjoy the most? It's really important for you to understand that we can journey where we want to. I'd like to do one, if you guys would be okay with it. I'd like to do one under the sea, where we literally walk across the beach and keep going and spend some time doing something completely different. And literally take that journey together. So it is very important to understand that the theatre of our mind is immensely brilliant. And as some of you know, I did at one time have a problem with my blood pressure crashing. And they thought I was going to die if I didn't get it under control. And unfortunately, medically, they didn't know how to get it under control. And I remember the specialist saying to me, if you know any way to control your blood pressure, this would be a time to do it. And I did. I went inside my mind, and in my mind, I went inside my heart and I started to pump it. Now, I don't care who tells me that isn't possible to do. I am standing in front of you today because I did it. And the only thing was that being me, I was down there pumping my heart like this and trying to get it to work. And then I thought, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I don't know if I'm going too much now. So I had to literally come out of that meditation and ask them to check my blood pressure to find out if I was doing it right. Okay, so this is interesting. Jody says the entire broadcast was a mini vacation for me today, and that's why I did it, Jody. You know that. The most relaxing time I've had since last week's garden talk. Thank you. I got tears in my eyes. I did it with you in mind, Jody. You know that. And Isabel says it came at the right time because it gives hope. Isn't that lovely? And Emel says you can do more cooking videos, right? Because you're a good cooker. I want to literally learn from you. Yeah, I don't see myself as a good cook at all. I find it very interesting. I really am not I don't think, well, no, Yvonne says I am, but I don't see myself as a good cook. You see, I play with food. All right, and Kez said, I love this subject because it took me back to my childhood and reminded me of a simpler time. Yes. All right. Nyasha, the reason you fall asleep when you're listening to me on a Sunday or probably any broadcast is because I have a voice tone that can do that. And especially on a Sunday when I intentionally lower the modulation. So don't ever apologize, as Jody is saying. No apology necessary. Sal's voice is relaxing. I do it intentionally. Samantha says, yes, very much so. Thank you, Mama Sal. These chats are quickly becoming the most calming part of my week. Oh. The topics are always so loving and thoughtful, and your voice is hypnotic and calming. Well, I guess that's made my week. You know, you don't know this, Samantha, because you are fairly new to the broadcast, but I've always said, if my broadcast just helps one person, it is worth the time and effort I put into preparing them and giving them. And so thank you. I know without a doubt that it helped Jody, so that was a no-brainer for me. That I knew she would appreciate it. But you know, the fact that you also find it a calming part of your week is exactly why we do it. And by the way, I wanted to find out how many of you notice that I'm chopping up some of the broadcasts just into shorter ones in case you don't have time to listen to the whole one, but you'd like some bits of it just to get the idea of what we did. I haven't done chopping up the Soul Sunday ones because I think they need to stay long, but definitely the ones where we do the cooking videos and stuff like that, I try to get that out. Now, we're going to be, yeah. Nyasha, I think the reason, sorry, Nyasha saying, I'm finding myself now falling asleep during the broadcast. Nyasha, I think you need to understand that for you to be doing that, it means that you are more relaxed than you were. If you can listen to the broadcasts and fall asleep to them, I cannot think of a better compliment. Because it means you trust me and that my voice lulls you to sleep. And I think that is, for somebody with all the problems that you have had and that you had when we first met you, I think that's a great compliment. I certainly won't ever want you to apologize for falling asleep. And yes, as Amel so rightly says, maybe you are tired. I want to tell you one of the things I have noticed about being retired is that it's really important to sleep. And my best sleep normally comes on a Saturday night. Because actually a Friday night or Saturday at the weekend, I really do give myself permission to sleep. And I slept, close to 9 hours last night. And that's pretty good for me. I normally average about 6.5. I'm working at getting it back to 7. But, you know, Roku television did me in. Let me not blame it. My self-control about turning off binge watching did me in. Do any of you relate? And that, without a doubt, I would call it the pandemic was the time of binge watching. I want to tell you that that it definitely has been my reality. And I don't believe that television will ever be the same again. And that's really kind. Thank you, Samantha. I really appreciate that. All right, so Jeannie's saying many years ago, there was a school friend who fell asleep at our home. I was so pleased that she relaxed enough and felt safe enough to do so. Yep, you understand my thinking. Her home was awful and unsafe, but she relaxed when she was with us. And that's why we're saying, Nyasha, for you to fall asleep listening to us means that you trust us and you are relaxed. So all of you, thank you so much for being here and keeping me going. I'm pretty certain you do all understand that just having you here gives me a reason to wake up in the morning. It gives me a reason to do research. Jody will tell you that even, you know, with this terrible week that she has had, coping with all the stress of Lionel getting hurt, she still put together the Friday Funnies. And even though, and I got to give credit here to Lauren, who offered to do it for her. But, you know, Jody will tell you that the reason that she enjoys putting the Friday Funnies together is because it makes her laugh when she's putting it together. She then gets a double whammy because she then gets to hear me interpret the same thing she has already seen. And I think if I'm right there, Jody, that part of your fun is to listen to how I tell those same quotes. Am I correct? And And listen to this. Neasha says, I do feel guilty because it's like I'm falling asleep in class. Well, hello, I'm not your teacher. Well, in a way I am, I guess. But yes, I'm a lot happier with my life. And that's it, Neasha. That's why you're falling asleep. Right, and Jeannie's saying we've kept both Lionel and Jody and Beth. Yes, Beth as well, by the way. I clean forgot to mention that. Beth was in hospital and has been sent home with oxygen. Jody, can I ask you to remind me to get an update from Beth? Thank you for mentioning that, Jeannie. I really appreciate that. And Sandy, thank you. All right. You know, it's so lonely if I sit here and talk to myself. So thank you for being here. And all of you, know that this summer is a magical summer. We're all still together. I'm hoping that this time next summer, we will, all of us, be able to say, remember when we weren't sure last summer if we'd make it through to the next one? And we did. And so I intend to live as much as I can every day now. All right, so Samantha's saying, Jody, do you have an email? I would like to ask you some questions about the site. Jody, please put up the DearMamaSal one. So if Jody wants you to be able to directly contact her, I will pass her email on to you. But I prefer that you do it through dearmamasal@gmail.com. The reason is I never ever give out emails directly to people. So Samantha, write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. And then I will find out from Jody if it's okay to share her email with you. I want to tell you that the most important thing to me is that I maintain your privacy. All right. Okay, you can ask me. And I want you to know that, Samantha, people ask me for other people's email addresses and everything all the time, and I won't do it. But Jody has given me permission to do that, so now I can share it with you. And I would do the same for you. I want you to know that, Samantha. I would not just give somebody your email just because you're a viewer. My attitude is I wouldn't want that to happen. So I won't do it for anybody else. The same thing, Samantha, just so you know, and your mom, Eve, that every time you see me put up thoughts and prayers for somebody, almost without exception, there have been the odd time when I have done it, but almost without exception, I won't do that without getting permission. Sometimes I will put up Jody or Lauren without asking permission because they know, you know, that, I mean, they are part of my admin group, so they know if they're telling me that I'm going to probably put it up. And Jody's saying Sal is the stealth guard of privacy, or privacy, depending which country you're in, of all our DearMamaSal family members. I do try. I'm not perfect, but I do try to maintain that because it is important to us all. This is DearMamaSal saying, have a wonderful week. Please have a wonderful week. And what's going to make it wonderful? You are. You are the person that's going to make it a wonderful week. You are the person that is going to do something good for somebody else this week. You are the person that's going to enjoy summer this week. You are the person that is going to help another person this week. And I am the person that is going to find out how I can eat more ice cream in my diet and not blow my blood sugar this week. How many of you are laughing? And I'm going to be researching that popsicle maker. All right, so everybody have a wonderful time. We'll see you on Friday. This is DearMamaSal saying, love you dearly. Keep control of your mind. That is going to be the most important thing we can do. Love you. All right, we're going to see you next week. This is DearMamaSal saying, bye-bye for now.